Scrub fam.
We are back here for, I guess, was the third Corona cast. This is like, I don't even know how many days in quarantine at this point. We're like
2,700.
Ridiculous. So this week we're going to be talking about the black cards for Series 10 and the starter decks and all those fun previews and things. As with me, as always, are the lovely gentlemen you see on your screen. We have Habibi himself, Frisco Foz.
Hey.
We have the guy who is with the cloud motorcycle up there, my mother, Jose Mercado.
Hi.
And we have, I don't even know, I guess my father from another mother, Matthew Combs. And debatably the second best legendary from Gen 1, Richard Zapp. And of course, as always, I'm emceeing this time, Pat O'Neill here on the mic. So, let's just get this out of the way first. What is everyone's like brief, I guess like 1 minute overall impression / summary of Black? I guess we'll start with Frisco.
I think we got more of what Black used to be with like drop area stuff, generic stuff. Every color got their own weird type card, which is kind of weird. I don't know how that's gonna play in with their own like unique color. So I think we got a little bit of what we thought we were gonna do with a little bit of flavor. We'll go into Vegix later, so I don't want to spoil it too much.
All right, Frisco.
He just went.
I meant not Frisco. Jose. Why am I looking
I was like, I'll go again.
Yeah.
Frisco's like, I agree with Frisco.
That guy's smart.
I think Vegix is a really strong leader. I like the flavor of the deck. I like the art; it's amazing. I think the deck is really strong. I feel like I like Black in general because it's giving you the option to be aggro. You guys know I like letting Jesus take the wheel all the time. Gotta go fast. But yeah, I feel like Black is letting Jesus take the wheel and then crashing into a wall. So like I feel like you either kill them on a certain turn or you're dead. So kind of thing. Because there's no support to be defensive in that sense, like no counterplays that are very significant. But then again, I like decks like that too. Anyway, so so I'm very pleased with what I've seen with Black so far.
Matt, what do you think?
I think that Black has improved its color identity to now this set. It seems like it's gonna be like really disruptive. Like you have all the different drop area manipulation effects, all the cards that get placed in the drop area coming into play. You have the new counter attacks, the Toas, the card we're gonna be talking about later, Mechikabura.
Pronounce it correctly.
So you just have like so many, disruptive effects, which is cool. And then of course, we'll talk about Vegix as the next topic. So I'll just leave all my comments for that and the next topic.
Zap.
Hi. In this episode of Dragon Ball Super, we find Black generating a consistent. Oh, fuck! I lost it.
Chill.
Matt, you need to turn down your gain just a little bit. You echo in smidgen. But yeah, I think Black continues to do the same thing that it's been doing. Continuing to have the same identity is kind of nice. It's interesting that they treated Black pretty much the same as other colors, except Black has this uniqueness of not having specified costs, and there doesn't seem to be as much reward for playing the unisons in Black compared to other colors. Yeah, it's all right. It was cool. I think Vegix is a super fun deck, and I think there's a couple other decks that we'll get into, particularly Toa, that also benefit from the new stuff.
Yeah. So for my overall impressions for Black, I think that Vegix is really super fun. I think that he's probably going to be competitive, but we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But as for the
Frisco is so leaned back right now. Like
Yeah.
that's like the deepest I've ever seen.
Frisco Fat Joe Foss.
Honestly, like aside from the starter deck cards and the super rares, I was super not impressed with a lot of the stuff that was shown in Black. Honestly, I actually don't like a majority of the cards except for the super rares, sans Shenron Unison. The biggest disappointment, actually the biggest amazing thing are Toa and Mechikabura, which we'll talk about later. Those are the biggest surprises. The biggest disappointment though, for sure. No free counterplay. Like we got Trunks and then we got Frieza, and then Black still has no way to address anything. They just don't get counterplays, right? Is that a thing? Yes, we're just
I'm actually okay with that too, because
You're
they have to have
play
some type
blue.
of disadvantage in having a lot of the generic good tools. I'm okay with them not having generic good counterplay.
I just hate that Deborah is the only thing they have. I don't even care if it's a bad option. I guess now they have Toa, right?
Just play Pui Pui. You don't care.
Well, Mechikabura is technically a counterplay. You just play it on your turn.
And Super Kamehameha is not a bad card.
Facts.
Yeah, it's an okay card.
It's
It's
decent.
an okay card.
The thing is, one thing
so
that we learned from
let's go back to our
testing.
testing, which was basically they have Topo Righteous Aid or you win the game.
This is true.
Okay, alright.
I got no pay.
Alright.
And when
Alright.
Super Kamehameha lets you beat Topo for nothing in a deck that can play everything for nothing, seems decent.
Well, Richard,
Alright, so-
Richard,
Except you mill all your Kamehamehas
Count-
and then you're chill.
counterpoint. Playing Vegex, my life rarely goes below 6.
Okay, so we've been talking about it this whole time. So
Yeah.
Zap already wanted to talk about how we get everything for nothing. So Zap, we're gonna transition here and talk about the Black Starter deck leader, which is Vegex, which is the fusion
Yeah.
of some Xeno and Vegeta Xeno.
Yeah, so that character's pretty cool, first of all.
Mhm.
For not knowing anything about heroes, pretty badass. So my initial impressions, as Matt said, it's a leader that has this insane amount of resilience. And it seems like the only way you lose is for the first 4 turns of the game, your energy efficiency and the impact of your turns are so much higher than your opponent's. And it feels like the majority of the time, the only ways you lose is if they somehow have a way to stop all your attacks, or if they get a turn 5 and a 6 and sometimes a 7. Because at that point, that's when other decks, when their average turn ceiling tends to be higher than yours. I think in particular, the Unison has been a little underwhelming. Mostly because of its low attack power means that being able to go that 25k dual attack double strike isn't too relevant, and over time filling that hand discard turn after turn after turn as much as you can replenish it can be obnoxious. And Turles Ghost Warrior is a definitive characteristic of that card. Playing it makes it feel like anytime you tap out to play a Unison on 2, it just feels so bad. And we've I don't want to say that Turles makes or breaks the deck, but it's definitely a cornerstone of why the deck is successful.
Especially against Unison decks, because I could see if we were in a different era, aka a Search Coup era, I could see the deck being kept in check because Search Coup doesn't have to play Unison. But I see how Turles in the Unison era is going to be very, very good card. Very, very strong.
Here's the crazy thing, too, is let's pretend Vegex ends up being this tier 0 deck. You have 2 plus ultra hard counters in Expansion Pack Topo Leader and in Series 8 Hatchiyak Leader.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's wild because it can never be the best deck because it's always going to have like a 20-80 matchup almost no matter how you build it.
Yeah.
And they do already have a couple cards already that severely impact is Dark Power Mass Saiyan too. It hurts the deck
A
quite
lot,
bit.
yeah.
Mhm.
So, Frisco, you want to just chime in with your thoughts?
Yeah, playing against Vegex, there's just they turn their cards sideways, and there's a lot of cards that turn sideways, and they're sometimes not even in the battle area yet. They're either on top of their deck or they're in the drop area, and you're just waiting. You're just waiting to see. You almost have to ignore their hand, because if their hand is not Bibbities, then it's probably just cards are trying to fuel the drop area. So you have to really just pay attention to their drop area and see what their turn sequencing is going to be. They can fall very static like Boo. So the biggest thing with like the Boo chain is that you basically know the progression of their turn like every single turn. Vegix falls in the same ways. You know what they're gonna do. It just depends how high of the ceiling they're gonna reach at that time.
Right.
Jose?
It is very frustrating on the receiving end. Again, I play Vegito against it. Even with, I need to have a sense of being every turn. Otherwise, I'm like, well, I'm dying this turn. You know, I always felt like crap, and then I'd be like, guys would be like milling stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm keeping count. Okay, there's 3 unisons gone. Okay, good. We're on this. We're in this. And then
Nope.
Oh no!
It actually reminds me of the old Paul Wall song, "Sitting Sideways." So just like paused in the days, sitting sideways.
that's
literally
how
the entire game.
That's how tilted I was. I rage quit on my own conversation. So like it's a very aggressive deck. It felt like the old days of the Yellow Baby, summoning a lot of things, swinging a lot. As a Vegeta leader, like just being blue, it felt like I'm just a punching bag. So now I am very excited to see red. I think red is gonna keep it in check.
Okay. We need the Frisco playing you off. It's like almost like the keyboard cat. I just want
Exactly.
The sad thing is they already have the cards. They have Kaioken, Exploding Weakness.
Exactly.
Like, what else could you do?
Exactly. And but I like the boys mentioned already, you have a healthy meta where you have a really good deck that is gonna keep kept in check by a certain deck that is probably gonna be kept in check by a different deck.
Exactly.
So I like that. I like that a lot. But then again, the black color didn't disappoint, and the cards that came up are not silver bullets that are just gonna be, I say, completely detrimental for a strategy. It's something that it will give you. It definitely feels like they're strengthening tools towards strengthening the other colors, so they can actually have a fighting chance against really unfair strategies. So,
Okay.
Sorry, I went over a minute because after my race.
Don't worry about it. All right, so Matt, as the person who's got the most reps with the deck, what are your thoughts?
I think just generating free resource for doing nothing is just always generically powerful, as we talk about in every game we play. I mean, that's why the green Goku deck everyone was so excited about and everyone thought it was busted, is because you're just using your drop area as a free resource. And combining that with the fact that black enables you to just play, you have Turla's Ghost Warrior, you have the Universe 3 stuff. You're essentially never doing anything with your hand or energy really ever. And so what makes the deck such a difficult thing to play against is they have a board state that continues to develop, and you have to either kill them or answer their board, and a lot of decks aren't equipped to do either. Like, a lot of decks can't do both or one or of the other. Like, a lot of decks aren't fast enough to kill you, because the deck also is going to play 4 power bursts. It's going to play the Goku making an entrance negate. So even if you're being aggressive, like, the deck can still defend itself. And then Bibbidi super combo in that deck is pretty absurd, because it's just like, it's like 40k. Like, I'm never dying.
A lot.
Yeah. So I just think inherently the deck is based off of the rules of the game, and we talk about this all the time, and what makes a deck like a tier 1 or tier 0 strategy is it just does something that no other deck can really do. And that's what Vegix does, is it just takes the drop area stuff and it just makes it even more absurd than it already was, because Boo U3 was very powerful, and that just got like, I don't want to say it gets trumped, but it kind of gets trumped by the fact that Vegix just gets to mill 5 every single turn, and just produce this free material that then equates to these resources in the drop area more and more. So playing the deck, I think it feels very strong. Seeing Sen Shinron Unison today gave me a really big thing of wow, Surge Coup is actually absurd now. Red Yellow Surge Coup, just building the list in my head and just running Sen Shinron and having that the +1 to just minus 15k to 2 things and make all your red cards be able to attack things in active mode is decent. But in general, I think the deck is very powerful. It's been very impressive in testing. I haven't lost a single game playing the deck. So, I mean, it's been good, and there's so many different ways you can build it too, which I'm sure everyone will talk about.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like the deck, as you said, like it does something uniquely powerful. So like, there's no doubt in my mind it's a tier 1 deck. Like it's just the base shell, like the one that like we've been playing. Like the obvious this is what it's meant to do.
Yep.
Is obviously feels like a tier 1 deck, but it does feel like a deck builder's like kind of dream deck because there's so many cards that synergize with the engine. It's absurd. Like the ceiling of the deck is just so high. Like we're talking about like there's a possibility for a shell that might have like the Bibbidi chain in there. Like if hand destruction becomes popular, right? The Vegex decks can kind of like augment themselves to be, you know, like a no hand Bibbidi chain, like as a backup win condition. And then there's obviously like Strength of Legends, which we haven't even talked about. Like you can play Strength of Legends super duper easily with this leader. So that's possibly another build of just being like, let's just turn, you know, just get big 35k vanillas for free. On top of the fact that the deck already does a bunch of other free stuff. It just feels nuts. It's weird because it's like, I wonder if this is like intentional because like they showed blue first, right? And then they showed green, and now they're showing us black, and it's like the previous colors outside of Sans the Dredge Kudak feel ill-equipped to deal with this, right? Like they feel ill-equipped to Vegex, so you're just like playing Vegex. This thing is nuts, right? Like how are you supposed to beat this? And then you see, like Matt said, Sin Shenron today, and you're just like, that's how you beat it. it's like it's deliberate. It's like how do you beat the Zeno ramp? Then you see the Dredge Kudak. It's like, well, how do you beat this? Here's the Vegex. Well, how do you beat this? Now here's the red stuff. Like it feels like whoever's in charge of previous season knows exactly what they're doing.
We got Ryu, we got Chun-Li, we got
Dictator beats Chun-Li.
Now we're getting into Sagat and Seth, Guile, in the realm of Sagat, Guile, and Seth.
One weakness that Vegex does have is what kind of a realization that I came with, that he can never really be like a mid-range deck because he has like 0 removal in the deck. You know, it's just like he's going one way, he's going full gas, and he wants to gain resources by you utilizing your resources to protect life.
So I'm gonna interject, and the reason I'm gonna interject is because I hate to reference Magic because I know people hate when I do it. But there was a deck in Modern that was broken in Modern Horizons. It was based off of a card called Hogak. Hogak was so absurd. It took a graveyard strategy and it made it absolutely absurd, and it was a hyper aggressive deck. But then they banned Hogak, right? They banned the card that made the deck broken, and you know what the deck did? The deck just adapted and became what you're talking about. It started playing removal, it started playing more cards, and the deck was actually being played almost more correctly. So it's like, I know what you're saying, like right now, if you look at the iteration of Vegex right now, it's like, it's an aggro deck, but it's like, you can you start playing some cards that let you draw more cards, you start playing a little bit more of them demonic absorptions, you start playing a little bit more of those cards, like
cost extra cards, like
you can get there.
Go long and play like a grindy game where we're just turning cards sideways and keeping a large hand size. Like that's what I say, the ceiling of the deck is so high. Like right now we're already like we're on the bare bones like basic version of the deck. It's just gonna keep going like this. I think as time goes on. One other thing I want to interject before we move on to like other leaders, like how do you guys feel about the speed of this deck? Because a lot of people I've been talking to have been saying that the deck is actually just too fast. I've been hearing a lot of people say that they're winning their games in like 3 turns.
So Richard, go ahead.
Yeah, so too fast is actually really interesting because the deck, in our experience, has been the least successful when you deck yourself out too quickly. I think we're all pretty much in agreement that the most correct list is actually really close to 60, more so than 50. We had a lot of conversation and debates back and forth. You increase the consistency of your mills, but you flip your drop back over turn 5 versus turn 4. I think the reason that people think that the deck is too aggressive is because we haven't previewed red and yellow, and red and yellow have Topo, Righteous Aid, and Flying Nimbus. So that's like recency bias in and of itself. And when you're playing black against black, and black doesn't have anything, of course it's gonna feel like you're protector of the people, baby. But Yeah, so I actually just kind of highlight that real fast. Is I think 60 cards is probably correct, and I think the biggest reason for that is because you get the most value out of your Bibbities. You may possibly see one less Bibbidi over the course of a game because you're not redrawing them as quickly, but you can't control how often you draw them. But I'd much rather have one consistently hitting at 25, 30k. Just being able to do something insane like. I've been thinking about playing Trunks Overseeing Time just as a one-up at the end, because when you get to the end game and you're not going to deck out again, just being able to go, 20k and then get a Bibbidi back, and that Bibbidi has another 40k behind it, loco.
Yeah, no, that's
a
actually
mission accomplished.
I'm
to
getting
get
my
back
Dragon
your
Balls
Bibidi.
back, bro.
well, just when I was trying to close the game out, just playing against Frisco last night in our game, I basically was just like, I'm just gonna wait until I have this Kraken space time in my hand, and I'm just waiting to draw another Bibbidi, and then I'm going to kill him. Like it's like I am just going to keep turning my Anilaza sideways, so he has to block this double strike, and then I'm just gonna wait, and then it'll be like, swing at your leader with my leader, and it's like, Kraken space time, Bibbidi. It's like mirror creator absorbed.
Yeah, that's just like I said, it's just absurd. There's just like a ton of stuff we still haven't even tested yet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
All right,
don't
so
even look at different leaders. So.
Yep. Yeah. So speaking of different leaders, that's a good segue into talking about any other leaders, like old leaders that we think are really, really, really good now with the new support that we got in Series 10. All right, go ahead, Jose. Since you volunteered.
I gotta say it. I'm gonna look into Kitku. I hate Kiku, but yes, I think because I really wanna before we discard completely the Shenron Unison, I wanna look into it. We still feel like it's a trap.
I think it's a trap. I think the card is unplayable. I seriously think it's unplayable.
But
someone please out there prove me wrong.
But I think we need to look into Kiku again.
You gotta flip it.
Oh no!
You mirrored your camera, so now no one can read.
Oh.
For special individuals. But
Yeah,
go ahead.
I feel Kiku introducing again the cracking time. What's it called? Like
Kraken Space Time.
Kraken space time.
Space time again, and having more access to the. So now the way I would see Kitku operating, you would be using also your try to be more black than any other color. Try to revive things. So like 20 body Krillin is black, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So using a training body, using your black.
Makes you wonder if Commander
Fearless
Red or
Guard.
whatever is good in that deck.
The 19k guy.
Yeah, the 19k
Yeah.
guy.
So like I would try to make it more mono black, so I could also leverage the human extinction attack as well. So now you could be swinging every turn with a 45k. It's like, well, I have to negate.
Yeah,
or
and
I'm
also if
spend
that deck
7
has
cards,
like,
or-
say if that deck has like Paparoni in it to turn
Exactly.
your Krillins, and your Krillins turn into Paparonis, and then your 30k
exactly,
Vanillas
because
turn into Nigrishis for extra.
It feels
amount.
really weird when you have to. I like in my head. I feel like it's gonna feel awkward paying energy for Shenron in the Kitku deck.
exactly. That's why we say that it's a trap, because
Yeah.
it's like, at what point am I gonna really commit to this?
Yeah, it's like
Unless-
it's like training Buddy Krillin or him, because they kind of do similar things. You're just trading an attack to grab a 20k body, basically.
I feel like the way that he's intended is just like that's your boss monster essentially. Like if you get to turn 7 or something, you just tap out for him and you just like.
Yeah, you rise into Dark Realms. That's basically
Exactly.
his ulti is basically rise. So
I think
Yeah.
there's merit, Jose, in your point about Shenron Unison, and I know everyone here is saying that it's a trap, but a lot of people didn't have positive feelings about Demigra, and
Right.
you have to understand that once a Unison hits the board, if you just let it stick, it's just going to kill you. It's just going to kill you over time. Like it takes up another one. It gives a 30k double strike on a turn, and it's just like, okay, cool. So you're not going to swing at my Shenron? Well, then I'm just going to kill you with my 30ks. Like it's. I don't think the card's a trap at all. I just think that your deck just has to make sure it's not built on having it to win the game.
And then on the other side, let's say that they just keep swinging at the Shenron. It's like, well, that's attacks that you're not getting to your face. Anyways.
which lets the game go to turn 6, turn 7, where you can just play another Shenron and just close it out with the ultimate right out of the gate.
Right.
I mean, okay, that's fine. I look forward to seeing it. I still am not a believer of the card, so I guess if I'm wrong, I'll take that L. I'll hold that to my chest. So
I'll take a crack at it. Yeah. So I like the milling using human extension, because then you can get back the Kikus with power burst and hit the Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
So.
Anyone else?
Zap, I know you got.
And Zap is like ready to just pounce. He's got the deck.
So we dabbled a bit in Toa. That was a deck that was always pretty cool. It was interesting.
Only won a few events. Not that
Yeah.
many.
Yeah. How to phrase this? The issue with Toa, with the new things, is it cannot resemble the previous version. The new 3-drop pseudo 2-drop. What's its name?
I don't know off the top of my head. I know what you're
Mirror
talking
uncommon,
about.
but
It's like a 3-drop that you can, if you have nothing in play, you can get it too.
Yeah.
So he was a 2-drop.
I think his name is
basically
Mira Faithful Servant.
Yes, Mirror Faithful Servant.
He's a 2-drop.
So the
2-drop, right?
So the things that we found. So for you to do everything that you want to do, you need to get a Toa into the warp quickly. However, if you overwhelm on the turn you want to play Faithful Servant, you have a battle card on the field, so it's a little harder to play it for free. You can sequence in it around.
Yeah, you could combo it off the board, I guess.
Yeah, but it just feels like a little bit of that negative value. The other part of it is previous iterations of the deck leaned very, very heavily into Vegeta Time Regulator.
Mhm.
And sitting on Time Regulator means that you can't play Faithful Servant. At the same time, you do need to find a way to make sure that you're getting your Mirror's Creator absorbed into the deck. So we haven't looked at the pool deep enough to figure out what the most efficient solution is. But it's definitely solid. In the slower format, not even a scratch loops feel very, very good. Being able to use your extra energy as a mana sink. We've been having success with that. So the deck can definitely exist, and it is probably close to competitive if it's not competitive. It 2-0'd Pachachile deck for
my hand destruction deck that literally could not put a dent in his hand because he just like not a scratch every turn, just slowly accumulating the value back. I will say though, what we did learn in that matchup, despite the fact that it felt like nearly unwinnable for me at every point in the game, it feels like Toa against certain matchups can't just sit there and try and like not attack and then present the mirror chain and go in that way, because like the free counterplay Frieza is like a blowout in that matchup. Like it's just, if you don't respect it or don't think it's there, like you could just go all in on Amira and get absolutely eviscerated for it. And it's like, well, I don't have a plan B anymore. So that's something definitely to be wary of. I definitely agree with your sentiments that it's probably a deck that won't be as like dominant as it once was. It could be competitive, but there are a lot of tricks coming out of Series 10 that kind of handle some of its main game plans, so to speak.
Would you like to sing a song to describe what cards do that?
No, not yet. Not yet. We'll save that.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about one last deck unless anybody else wants to, but because we haven't tested it, I don't think. But original Mass Saiyan.
Series 3 Mass Saiyan, yeah.
Mass Saiyan seems very good right now.
Bro, I made a list for that, bro.
Yeah, so obviously he is a Black Saiyan, so he gets access to all of the starter deck cards, and he was already a like hyper aggressive deck. And the fact that he gets a pump and critical, so he's like more equipped for leader-based combat and big pump spells. So I feel like there is definitely merit to testing him, just because he lends himself really well to a lot of the cards that were shown. Just getting free bodies on board for a deck that wants to just be suicide.
Yeah, free self-awaken with Trunks will help him out a lot too.
Yeah. So he definitely one of the, I think, better leaders, older leaders that got boosts so far.
Yeah, the big concern with him is, one, historically he's never handled hand destruction well. Gosh, that reminds me of the time that I used Twisted Justice Fuse and Masu to beat Mass Saiyan. The dreams. More importantly, when you're playing against so many leaders in this format, that are awakening at 6, 7, 8 life, it becomes essential that you're hitting your +5 and your critical. And statistically, you can't do that more than 75% of the time, regardless of how you build your deck. So if those leaders, Blue Vegito, Set 10, Dredge Coup, Vajank, ends up dominating the format, Massey might not be well seated, but it definitely got quality of life boosts at the worst.
Yeah, it feels more playable than Android 21 does right now. Yeah, I went there. Anyone else want to chime in with anything else you guys feel like got a big boost? Otherwise, we can move on here.
So nothing that got like a big boost. But I was just like looking at. We're going to talk about Twisted Sister in a second, but I actually really like the negate. I think it's called Burning Impact.
Burning Impact.
It's not actually a negate. It's just counterattack, but you can activate it for free if you have a Unison card to play. It doesn't matter what color your Unison card is. Like just with Saiyan Instincts just being like a mainstay in this format until the end of time, I just want to blow someone out with that card so bad. Like I just want to be like,
Bandai like gave me my wish. I just wanted Graveyard Hate, and I got it. I have to say, like, Twisted Sister is my favorite card in the set, like, so far. Like, I know it was Gotenks, it is now Twisted Sister. It's like,
even though it's easy to play around, it's easy to play around. You just do your thing first. Like,
I know, but so like, the card just has great art. The card's name is really sick. Twisted Sister is a great name for a card. But obviously the effect is obviously a highly desirable, much needed effect in this game. And yes, it is like you can play around it, but like even Zap was like in the games we were playing was just hard casting it for one and getting like insane value out of it. Because it puts any card back, right? So I'm a Dragon Ball leader, so he put Dragon Balls back in my deck, which is like oof. Like delay my awakening turn. That's pretty big ouch. And then also the Unison rules. When you play a Unison, it does create a counterplay window. So if your opponent thinks that they're safe, like they missequence their turn for whatever reason, and play like a 2-drop Unison, they were thinking of going like Saiyan Instincts afterwards. Like you can just basically punish them for it, or like a re-ran that they were saving for a later turn, things like that. So really powerful card, and I think that it'll probably be used a lot. Like I don't know if it'll be main board. It may be the actual main board, like 1 or 2 of them. But I definitely think it's just going to be like a sideboard staple, especially since at the moment, at least I don't know how you guys feel, but Goku still feels like the strongest deck coming out of this set. So she is a great silver bullet for that deck.
So what you're saying is Twisted Sister or bust?
Ha 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 ha! I got you.
No, I think the card's definitely going to see play. I mean, if as far as like all the decks that are going to be reliant on drop area effects, it's definitely going to see play within the 65 or 80 card deck or whatever.
I'm just playing Leyline of the Void, man.
If only, right? If only.
All those cards just go to the.
Could you imagine? Like they wouldn't print Leyline of the Void in this game. I would love it, but they were not going to do it, especially like because of a deck like the Jax. For those of you guys who do not play Magic and do not know what Leyline of the Void is, it's basically a field spell that stays in play and just says, anytime a card from anywhere goes to your drop area, it's instead warped. So you just don't have it. You just don't. Have
Oh, Macrocosmos. I understand now.
Yeah, you just don't get to have a discard.
Oh yeah,
like Necro Valley, I guess would be another one, right?
If we want to be more popular, we need to start using Yu-Gi-Oh references instead of Magic references.
Yeah, I mean it's the same thing. It's not like Yu-Gi-Oh is like most busted cards aren't just copies of Magic cards. Painful choice. We call it gifts ungiven.
All I need is painful choice to have my Yu-Gi-Oh collection in Dragon Ball.
So, yeah. All right. So I guess now we have to talk about the card that caused like an uproar. We've only been like alluding to, I guess, this entire time.
The Dark Magician.
Yeah, the Dark Magician is
that the swordsman I see?
Yes. So we're talking about Mechikabura, which is, for those of you guys who do not know the reference to the song, it goes Salagatula Mechikabura Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. So yeah, it is obviously he, I guess, is the next sorcerer in the line. I don't pretend to know anything about heroes or anything, but obviously. There was Boo, which is by Bibbidi, or Bobbidi, then Bibbidi's his dad. I don't know the relation, But yeah, that's where he fits in. That's where his name comes from. He is part of that whole Cinderella lyric. And that card is decent, to say the least. So let's talk about Frisco. Frisco, you lead us off on your thoughts on Mechikabura.
I think the card's really good. I think it gives any hope of if Android 21 Violent Predator doesn't get banned, because any monocolor decks can just play it and just name 21 and 8 costs, and then you're good. And then they can't play it for a turn. So if they're waiting
Android 21.
Android, I apologize. My bad.
We'll get to that.
I we'll get to that point. But yeah, no, I think the card's really
attacks.
good. I think it's gonna make you think twice of having a super linear strategy. For example, like, back in the day, like Purunga Victory Strike decks, like your only way of winning was Victory Striking someone. If like now you can't build a deck like that right now because like you.
But bro, I could have
everyone
played
has
an Astrid. Oh
Exactly.
wait, they're both Goku.
Exactly, they're both Goku 8-drop. That's pretty funny. That is true. And hope of whatever the 8-drop, the green one too.
What's
Yeah, that one's
respect on that card's name?
Hope
You know
of the
that is
universe.
everybody's favorite
Hope of
card.
the
in the
universe.
right now.
Hope of the
Hope of the
universe.
universe.
That card's one of my faves. But yeah,
still
no,
haven't
the
built
card's-
that deck. I still haven't built a deck.
I'll
gotta
excuse
build it.
myself. I won't be here anymore. But yeah, no, the card's really good, and I think it's going to be at least a 2 to 4 of in the majority of the decks, and as it should be, because I think we're kind of shifting a little bit away from dual color. I think it's going to be hard for dual colors to probably play it, but monocolor decks for sure are going to be running it 100%.
Jose?
I think the card is really, really, really good. I don't see the card breaking the game. It's like Frisco eloquently said, it's a tool for decks that want to do their own thing. If you want to play somewhat of a closer to fair strategy, have fun, you can still buy some time and not get wrecked by a Celcino strategy. You get an additional turn. You can do your thing. I feel like if I want to play, this is gonna be a really big stretch. Set one Broly with all the green tools right now. I was like, you know what? I'll put Mechikabura in there, and I'll get some chance. Like, okay, I don't want Gogeta 7 on turn 5, so I can get at least to play my Broly, and then he's probably gonna get pew, but I mean different,
You just gotta try.
But
So-
I feel like I don't think the card is gonna be a problem. I think people are over.
So I guess we
being
can kind of tie
oversensitive.
that into it's kind of we're just dancing around at this point. But the whole subject that came up this week was that
The rule
because you
chart
have to name you have to specify an exact character name and original cost. People were worried about potential rule sharking. So like
Right.
you would name Goku plus 3 or whatever if you're afraid of like Path to Greatness, and everybody was like they would play it and go, aha, you didn't say Son Goku, and then you would just get wrecked because technically you didn't name it. But
Flip the
it
table.
has the potential to create these, I guess, feels bad moments.
Let me give two parts, because I want to make sure I give my feedback about the card and then additionally tie into this. So my feedback about the card. So number one, I think everyone is overhyping it, and I also think people are underhyping it. So I think it's being undersold as well as oversold. People, it's the cheapest deflect card aside from like the one drop cards that we've ever had. So it's the cheapest deflect attacker in the game, right? So that's one thing to think about. Take that with any strategy you can pick. Every deck has the ability to play over 50 cards in the main deck now. What's wrong with playing 2 copies in every single deck and going to 52? Nothing. And having something like that in your main deck just as a catch-all to something you're ever worried about, to the card that you're the most afraid of in a particular matchup, is always something that's very beneficial. Now, take the extreme of it. Let's say Turles gets banned, right? Let's say Turles Ghost Warrior gets banned from Vegex. Tell me why I shouldn't just play 4 copies of that card in the deck. It's a deflect 2-drop, stops Topo Righteous Aid for an entire turn, can be summoned into a Paparoni, and can continue my aggressive turn. So I think the middle ground is the card is very good. Like it's not, I don't think it's broken. I think it's going to feel bad when your opponent goes, turn 2, play this, do a bunch of attacks. Turn 3, don't play it. Turn 4, play it again, do a bunch of attacks. And it's like it's going to feel bad when they start stacking, but I don't think there's any reason why no deck shouldn't just go to 52 cards and start playing this in their main deck. Like, it doesn't feel like you're not losing anything by doing that, in my opinion. And then the syntax thing, us and Pansy, we remember it, Black Scout Maneuver. You had to name the exact title of the card, and there was just a gentleman's agreement where it's like, if you're playing casually and you want to, destroy someone's life by telling them they got the card name wrong, then that's on you. But if you're at a competitive event, you should take the time to do it correctly. You should know the name, the character name that's written down. You should know the exact cost. Because in competitive events, you have to go by all the TO rules, depending on the level of the event. So
same thing with the hidden Kai, it's probably a dirty move if they don't announce the double strike, and it's a legal thing for you to say it is. Just as it's same thing with this, it's you have every right to do it. It's just what type of person you're going to be, I guess.
And it's not that hard. It's not that hard. Yeah. It's asking for a character name and a cost.
If the guy is just like, it's the 7-cost blue card with barrier and deflect that makes me shuffle my hand into my deck. It costs 3, I know it costs 7. I don't know the character's name. I think it's like a Goku or something like that. Like it's very obvious that they know what card it is that they're trying to declare.
Yeah.
You should probably just give them the benefit of the doubt.
At your locals, yes.
Yes, at your locals, yes. But again, I guess at the regional or the higher level, like if this was Nats, then there'd be off the you gotta name it, right?
So learn how to pronounce Chajiro.
Until people, learn how to pronounce Mechikabura. Because if you pronounce it wrong, then yeah. But yeah, it's gonna be a some learning curve, I guess. Zap, your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely have the lowest opinion of the card in the group. I definitely think it's solid. And it kind of fits in one of the cardinal rules of Broken, which is if the best way to beat a strategy is by utilizing the strategy, there's probably something unhealthy about it. And with the card having Deflect, as of right now, playing another copy of it and calling Mechikabura is the best way to stop them from playing yours. I think at a highly competitive level, I think the card's existence respects you to play decks that can win in more than one way.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think that's a good thing. I think the card is healthier now than it would have been 2 years ago. I think with a smaller card pool, it would have been much more impactful. As a whole, I think it'll be good. I think there'll be some decks that play it. I think there'll be plenty of decks that don't. But it creates a cool situation where decks that are hyper focused on trying to do one thing, they can't really exist. I found with the Toa deck, because Toa revolves around 5-cost and 7-cost mirrors, the deck's really limited. As far as the ruling, as far as phrasing cards, it should be something that I think you should be talking with the other player about. This is the card that I'm referring to. This is my intention behind the card. You asking the opponent if they understand the intention. Everybody making sure they're on the same page. I would like to see the FAQ evolve to be able to take notes in game.
Yeah, please.
And that would allow us, like in game 1, to write down the name of the card that you're frustrated about, or the card you need to play around, so you can remember it for later. But also remember that if you're playing in a game, when you resolve that card, you can look at their drop, you can look at their warp, and if they have a character in their discard pile with the same name, you can use that to make sure that you're using information. So make sure you utilize that in play. Or when you're playing against a deck, if you don't remember what the card is, whenever they tutor something, often the way Dragon Ball Super decks work, most powerful cards you have, you usually search them with something else. So being able to, whenever they search it through their deck, make sure you look at it to make sure you know the name.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You hit one of the points that I don't think I was very clear. That the card is not requesting you to say exact same name of the card to be played. It's just the character name.
Mm-hmm.
Character name.
Son Goku,
so
Son
like
Gohan, Vegeta, right?
Dende.
If it's BR, remember
Tommy.
to say the BR though.
You have to say
You
your
gotta
BR.
say the BR.
Broly
You
BR.
say the BR.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think just a lot of people, when they look at the card, and I think everyone's thinking about when they're grading it, like everyone's thinking of like, I really just want to stop my opponent's boss monster. But me, I just think of the card as like a fantastic tempo play. Like just being able to play it and be like, okay, I'm gonna say Bardock with a cost of 4, or being able to play the card and saying topo with a cost of 4, being able to just take your opponent off of a card, because everyone likes to leave their energy open defensively. Being able to take your opponent off that card for the entire turn just generates so much tempo for you that, like, I prefer using it that way. Like, I get it playing it late game and being like, Gogeta with a cost of 7. But it's like, I want to kill my opponent before they get there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can do it. Yeah.
That's
So
That's
like preventing the exploiting weakness, preventing
Yeah.
the
Exactly.
Kaioken Goku, preventing
Yeah, like if you're playing against a ramp deck, like you could just be like, oh, like, and they're going into their third turn, you're just like Obuni 4. pass.
Exactly. Like, you just take them off of cards that
You
you,
just
know
take,
they're
you take
going to
what
play.
is the best possible play turn they could have. You just stop it. Like
Exactly.
the way I see the card when I read it, I was like, oh, so it's just a worse Meddling, right? So it's just like it's something designed to pose a specific card, but it's obviously only for one turn. So that makes it, because it's only a one-turn thing, you should use it like a tempo card, like Matt is saying.
I'm also really interested to see if they find once per turn it can intuit it from the deck of Dark Dragon Ball. It'll be cool to see if we can find some way to get a lot of value out of that without committing a lot of cards to it.
Yeah,
Like if there's a way to quickly get it from the drop back to the deck, that increases the play.
Right now, the only one we have is the green one.
yeah, the green. So far, the only
Yeah.
deck like that I can even like fathom wanting to play the Frieza Dark Dragon Ball engine in is actually surprisingly the 21 deck, because it can play the most amount of 4-drop Friezas for free, but it can't play Mechikabura, so it's like it's a bust. So that's kind of a big bummer.
That is true.
I mean,
as far as
you can play it; it'll just go away right away. But just will get
yeah,
auto.
but then you can't use the activate main.
Oh, I see.
That was the whole point. Like I was like, okay, so like, what am I supposed to do with this engine? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think they showed Mega Shenron coming up like with like his stuff like this week. So maybe there's something more to it there. A couple other points I want to hit on real fast with Mechikabura. Like Matt said, it is the cheapest deflect card. I know Shenron leaders are not like a super big deal, but card's pretty sweet to get with assembling the squad for free. Especially if you intended to get like, I don't know, a Spirited Surge Trunks, or any other thing like, I don't know, Rebien, if you're trying to play like Maidens and your locals or whatever, and your opponent goes counterplay with like, I don't know, a Denial of Hope, you can just instead change your target to Mechikabura and still get a body out, which is pretty good.
Or a God Sealing technique, and you're just like, sorry, fam. Like,
yeah, exactly. Sorry, fam. Like that's just how it is.
Sucks to suck.
Unfortunately, like Wish is not good, but like that is a pretty sick interaction that we had happen in testing. And then like obviously, the way I see the card, I guess, is like Pithing Needle, where it's just like some decks are just gonna want this as like a 2 of in their board, or like a 2 of maybe in the main board, like Matt said, just because it keeps people off a lot of stuff. I think it is a very high skill cap card. I don't think it's broken, and I think it's honestly player preference. Like Zap does not seem to value it. Originally, when I read the card, I thought it was broken, and now I'm just like, this is like a very high skill cap card, and if you
it truly is. And I'm only speaking because for Frisco know this reference, because coming from the game that we used to play, you knew the mark of a great player based off of how they used stare down and confrontation, which is basically just looking at your opponent's hand and getting rid of their card that you're worried about. You knew how good a player was about how they leverage those cards, and Mechikabura is that exact kind of card. It's the person that's like,
Totally agree.
It's the person that is like, oh, well, I know that they're going to X turn, like Pat said. Their best play is this, like right here. They've shown me that they have this. Their drop area has this in it. What information can I use to make the best informed decision to help me advance my win condition on their turn, or during this turn when I'm trying to win the game?
Yeah, like even in Vegex mirrors, like you can like be on turn 2, they have not milled Vegeta yet, and you're just like, okay, well, they have 5 cards in their drop, they haven't milled Vegeta yet. Mechikabura, Vegeta, Xeno, +4.
Yep.
So then what happens if they burst and they hit a Vegeta? They don't get it.
Exactly.
So like that's what I'm saying. Like the card is not broken, and I don't even know if it's a staple, but honestly, like you probably should get at least 2 of this.
But it's the pinnacle of disruption.
It should be in your sideboard, like regardless. There's really no reason to not have it, because it counters everything that would be in your sideboard regardless, right? Like, it's like if you need a card, like, hey, I need a card to beat this deck. This probably does it, and also solves a lot of other matchups too. So yeah, just
Yeah, I feel like it's
definitely
player
for that thing
preference.
aside.
Definitely when the card, now that like the card is relatively new, start getting used to playing with the
Mhm.
card, and you'll understand whether it's something for you or something you could, be without. But it's not something I feel like a lot of players are just going to immediately grasp, and get maximum value out of.
And learn the characters' names.
And like I think we're in a like imagine if this card was in the current format, like how bad like Surge would feel not being able to play apes or like arrival cards. Like you just like know they're gonna like, or they're probably gonna play like ape and cooler right now. Like, oh, just imagine if you just play that and
Yeah,
just
part
stop
of
like,
4.
yeah, right. And you're like, oh, I
Exactly.
guess I can't do my thing.
Exactly.
Yep. Or just exactly. Just swinging into you
Son
wanna
Goku
swing
GT, no
something.
hard field play for you, sir.
Yeah, right.
That's why unisons are more important than ever, because guess what? They are not a target.
They don't
Yep.
care.
Like, so
They do let you get max value out of Twisted Sister. So yeah. Overall though, black super rares I think are, except for maybe Shenron, pretty good, pretty versatile, high skill cat cards. So, any other final thoughts, guys, on black as a whole before we move on to our wish list for red plus yellow? Because apparently we're doing 2 colors this week.
I think a card that we didn't really touch on that I actually kind of like a lot is the new Boo 4-drop. First, it's a budget version of Saiyan Instincts, so for black, I should say. And it could be even the preferred preference because it gets your U3 cards out of your hand.
yes.
I think that card is actually going to be pretty good in
Very
the
good.
Magic side. Yeah.
Inclined to agree. Been putting in some solid work for Matt. In his games.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing mono black with Saiyan Transcendence because I think that Saiyan Transcendence is just good. It's just a card that unlocks Ani Laza. It's a 1 energy, 25k double strike in a deck that struggles with energy efficiency, so. I don't know anything, though.
This man.
Always
selling himself short.
No, I took my notes from Richard Zapp, bro.
Another card that you
100%.
might need to think about too is because black's biggest weakness is going to be topo, and Time Bullet might be a card that you play if you want to stay at a high life total and you don't really care about the cards in your hand. So because it counters 2 or less, so just something to think about because topo against Vegex feels pretty good.
Nah, man, I'm just gonna play
People are gonna make that
Mechikabura, bro.
adaptation, man. Kotskai and Mechikabura. Seems pretty
there's
good.
a lot of hate toward it for sure.
Right.
All right, boys. Wish list for, I guess we'll start with red. We'll do a wish list for red, and then we'll do a wish list for yellow. All right, so starting from the top, Frisco. Wish list for red.
Ooh, my babies, red. I love red. I want some cards that make Beerus tier 1. When Beerus was revealed, I was on the Beerus train. I love Beerus, and then 2 weeks later, Search Coup came out, and it's like, well.
So what I hear you saying is ban Search Coup.
It's actually about 2 months, I believe.
Well, the thing is, like, if how I envision unisons, it's going to be very hard to leverage like 3 colors, and Beerus could potentially do a 2-color deck just as well, if not better, than Surge Coup, because it doesn't really have to rely on having a certain amount of colors in each deck, and it can just go into red-blue, like, and just be red-blue. Surge Coup can't do that. It has to be red, blue, yellow. So Beerus has a little bit more flexibility. I know Beerus says you can pitch a yellow card, but you can just pitch a red blue card whenever you want, and you just have to have a small package of red yellow to combo with. So that's my goal.
Beerus is already good though.
Beerus is good. I want him to be amazing.
But Brian Samuel though. Yeah, that pretty sick Beerus run with the PBG events over the last month and change.
Okay.
Jose, what you want?
Red. I want a mono red deck to not lose to barrier. That makes sense.
You got your extra cards now.
Yeah, well, you already got that, bro. We got that concentrated destruction. Goku.
I
know.
commend you, Pat, for memorizing the name.
The Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, man.
When no, I know, but besides that, it's like okay, and you have to spend.
You didn't pay $100 for
No.
each of your copies?
No, I have
Okay,
nothing on.
You want a budget one?
No, I don't want it. It's not like I want him to be not scared of barrier at all, right? I don't want it to be. But I like, for example, and again, I'm a baby guy. So I got very excited for seeing the Unison. So now that's potentially a way of dealing with barrier. Just swing at them, swing at the active barrier guys that are, making your life hard. But a way to deal with barrier that is not the Kaioken Goku, right? Because then
You
that's still
cease to exist.
still turn 3 kind of thing.
I know. Just letting you
Right,
know.
so you're tapping out for dealing
You
with.
sound like me.
Isn't
You want to be
Shenron
Let me
turn
deal with this
3?
barrier guy, then die next turn because I tapped out. But I like what the theme that potentially the Unison is bringing. I would be okay with just having more cards that can swing at active cards. Because it looks like that's the route that Red is going, either debuffing stuff and then swinging at active stuff. So I would be okay with that. That the way that you deal with the barrier guys is that you have to swing at them. So I'm okay with that. And I really hope that the support that we get are not things that are passive, that I'm just reacting to what the opponent is gonna do. I want offensive stuff in Red, because I think they already got the most busted counterplays right now.
Well, Pilaf is looking super aggressive.
Huh?
Pilaf seems like it'll be super.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Yamcha looked really good too. I wanted a burst Shenron Red leader. I still want that, but
We'll see.
Yeah, Matt.
So I'm really excited about the Sen Shenron Yuzen. I think that card is, as it reads, is like absolutely snapped. Like, that card is wild. I mean, the moment that I read the permanent, and the permanent said red cards, so it's like your leader card, your Unison card, all of it can swing an active, and then the +1 is just wild. The fact that the +1 hits 2 things, -15, the -2 being able to take anything 25,000.
It's a 20K, bro.
Yeah,
it's
and
a 20K.
Yeah,
it's
3-drop 20K is already
20K.
overstated.
Very hard to kill. So I was really excited about that. But honestly, the only thing I really want for Red at this point, after seeing the cards, is I just want I really hope Red gets a free counterplay, like similar to Blue and Green, and I hope it's just as good. And then
I hope there's like Black.
And then I don't want Pilaf to be busted. I just want it to be fun and interesting. That's my only wish for Red at this point.
No pun intended.
Zappy Daddy.
I don't have a wish list. I think Red is really cool, and I think over the last year, Red has printed a good, fair, reasonable number of cards that are cool and interesting and fairly competitive, but not ridiculously over the top. Exploiting weakness might be the slight exception to that. But no, I think Red's been fantastic in general. Thank you. Yeah, no.
I'm inclined to agree with you. I think Red is probably the most balanced color in the game. It has lots of just fun cards to play. I only really had like 2 wishes for Red, I guess. One I kind of already got. As you guys know, I've been talking about it in our previous Corona cast. I really wanted a 2 or 3 cost Unison. It was really good in tandem with Priest of Prison, because I do think that that deck has some potential to be much better going forward. Sin Shenron is absurd. So I guess I have my 3-drop play. I kind of wish that there was a 2-drop that was absurd, but yeah. So Sin Shenron, that we already saw from previous today, kind of nuts. So that's one thing. Only other thing I really want, I just want Yamcha to not suck. I guess I'm one of those guys that actually likes Yamcha. I kind of liked Yamcha in Dragon Ball. He feels like he just gets the raw end of the stick. He's basically a meme.
Only if it's baseball Yamcha.
Yeah, Yamcha just feels like a meme. Even like the creators of the show just feel like they just meme on Yamcha constantly. Like Dokkan Battle, literally April 1st is dedicated to Yamcha and making fun of him at this point. And I'm like, okay guys, he's not that bad of a character. All right, so yeah, I just want him to be good. So I guess then we'll move on to Yellow. I kind of want to start Yellow real fast. I want nothing.
Start with Jose.
for Yellow.
Okay.
Jose's excited.
No, I want nothing for Yellow. They're too broken, and honestly, after seeing Mechikabura today, that's a route. I'll let you guys talk about that. That card's absurd.
We'll go in
Go ahead,
reverse.
Jose.
We're going reverse order.
Okay, go Zap.
My perspective is exactly the same as yours.
Yeah.
After seeing the Yellow Unison and just
You're done.
The Yellow
that's
Unison might
already
straight
too
up.
much. That
The
is
Yellow
already-
Unison might be the best Unison in the whole set. I've not even played a game with it or played against it yet. It might be the best unison.
Yeah.
It's that absurd.
Yeah, I'm ready for yellow to be the worst color for like 2.5 format.
It's been the best color in the game for 9 sets.
Okay, is it my turn? No, not yet. Okay.
We're going to reverse
Almost.
order.
It's Matt's turn.
Oh, so my first thought is going to go to the yellow unison. I can guarantee you that 3XG Productions is going to break that unison. 100%.
It's broken, guys.
I'll take
100%. We will completely snap that card in half. That card is wild.
Wait. You're talking about Gogeta 2-drop, right?
No, I'm talking about. No.
We're talking about Salagadul and Mechikabura and Vomit.
It is written. Like the card is absurd.
And we'll give a hint.
Puffs.
That's what I was gonna say.
Bergamo.
Yeah.
That's why I don't want. That's why I don't like going last.
Not
But
going last, going second to last.
but my wish list for yellow is just for. I just want Sin Shenron to be good. That's really it. I don't really care about Gotenks. I think people are really like hyping it because it's like another Broly, but I don't think taking your own life every single turn.
It is
optional.
I know, but it's just not good. Like I think the leader has a lot of attack. It. You know what this leader reminds me of? It reminds me of Set 8 Cooler, where the leader just has so much text that it just ends up being middle of the road. Like it'll be good, but I'd rather play leaders that are invulnerable to damage, like Jiren.
That's biased, bro. I actually think Gotenks is kind of nuts.
Take one life and you're invincible. 2 lines.
We'll wait if we get more Union Fusion cards. If we get more Union Fusion cards, like which is what it seems like it's themed around, just based off the leader skill, then I'll be like, we'll see from there. But I really just don't want yellow to be snapped in half. I just want it to be average.
No, it needs to be awful. Go ahead, Jose.
I don't care if it's snapped. Okay. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I want unique on Bergamo. I want unique on Warcry. Greatest Warcry.
Yeah, but
That's
that's
my
not what
wish.
you're hoping for previous season. We're asking for more for previous season. That's a band around
previous
list that
season.
you were asking for, bro.
Kill
I can't
Raiders!
help you there.
Warcry!
Zap's just dying over here, dude. We get
Now,
it. Yellow's broken.
well, wish list.
nerfed.
I really want the dragons to be cool, to have like utility, not to be pointless cards that you have to play in a deck because it's flavorful and it's not even competitive, right? I want value. I remember when I joined playing competitively, I think the very first Gen Con, I was talking to one of my friends from Ohio, and we said, I think we pulled one of the Bardock Championship cards that he said like blow up everything on the board that is 6 costs or more, I think it is.
Yeah.
We said like, why? What's the point of this card? You know, what is it? What's the point? And
Marcus Cantarsi a tournament.
But what my friend said is like, dude, imagine if they ever make Omega Shenron and you actually get to summon all of the dragons at the same time. I'm like, dude, that'll be cool. So now I'm like that. I'm that mensa. It's like, oh, what if all the dragons are actually Sithcos and that Bardock play? That was the whole thing. It's like, holy moly, Bandai's like 20 steps ahead. You know,
The Easter egg, bro.
What's crazy about that leader ability too is it says Shadow Dragon cards.
Mhm.
You can repeat them.
With different names, right? So if for some reason there's a 10 cost Sin Shenron and an 8 cost and a 6 cost and a 4 cost, you can play all of them.
You could, yeah. If there was, for whatever reason, there was like, 7 different Omega Shenrons, you could just be like,
Right, exactly.
all 7 of them.
And then they're all gonna be 20k less power, and then 1 denial of hope.
Oh, well, they'll help. Yeah. For sure.
Stop, bro. No. Even better, guys.
Yeah.
No, you just on the turn before you just make a Kabura and say Sin Shenron because cost of kidding. No,
No, you name Sin Shenron, cost of 6, and they go, well, good thing I'm gonna get a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 7 and a 12.
So the final wish list on yellow, I don't know if we're due. I think we're due already for a yellow secret, right? A mono yellow secret. 'Cause now we reverse the cycle.
Hmm.
I don't know. The fact that the leader is tapping like 6 to do all these things. What if there's an Omega Shenron that fuses all of the dragons and comes into play after you?
Oh, you mean it
Something
has,
crazy.
Like, successor 30?
A successor 4400.
Okay,
I don't know.
successor 4400. Good to know.
Can we have the
You
SCR
can play-
be a Saiyan instead and let us play Yellow Gohan again?
No.
Zap, stay in your seat.
It's like,
Yellow
oh,
Gohan, bro.
So I think it would be very flavorful, especially since we saw an art of like Gogeta 4, and I mean Gogeta 4 only appeared to battle Omega Shenron,
Mhm.
so be very flavorful. Just like, you know what, have an Omega Shenron like fuse all the dragons, and then. Pew! But it's okay. I still want to see it. I just want to Omega Shenron.
Successor 4400. You can just
So I don't know if I necessarily have a wish list. I just know what I don't want to see anymore. I don't want to see anything that's undercosted that taps people's energy. We already saw Mechikabura, and and already it's getting
Okay, guys, don't accept that in competitive play. Don't accept
exactly.
Don't
No,
accept
we
it.
will.
They gotta sing the song.
That is not acceptable.
And and that's already a way to tap energy that's gonna be accumulating over a certain amount of turns. So I don't want to see any other ways. There's a reason why Hydro Mastery was as oppressive as it was back in the day, is because tapping energy is really strong. And then we have Bergamo, and it just we need to
You have
chill.
Mechikabura.
Yeah, and then we just have to chill with the whole tapping energy thing. It can get overwhelming. Also with their counterplay, I do not want to see Cold Bloodlust. I don't want it to come back. I just don't want to see it. I
agree.
like there's a reason why it's already limited. If I hope to God it just doesn't negate skills and like something similar to that, because that would tilt me very much. So
I like how almost everyone's wish list was just, except for Matt's, just don't give anything to yellow.
Just fun.
Matt was just like, you could give small things to yellow, so they're.
I just want it to be like average power level. It doesn't need to be absurd.
No, dude, like they've just been the best color for so long. It's just like I'm just so over it, man.
Yeah,
I'm
but
so
that's
tired of
that's
going to
you,
locals
that's
and
you,
everyone
Pat.
just goes, "Here's my yellow X deck." Like no one plays red or green, right? Like they play black once in a while, but it's like
Red
play yellow X
Gogeta.
because I
then-
just I want
Red
cooler
baby.
Bloodlust
There's
and
guys like
Warcry.
me that likes to Zamasu super combo into Bergamo 5 and then make you pass. I enjoy that, man. That's my thing.
So speaking of things, I guess that's our thing. That is our.
That's our thing.
show tonight.
Ending in a
Any
low
final
note.
thoughts, boys,
Talking about
before
yellow.
we get going?
I'm excited for this week. I can't wait to see the cards. I think at the end of this week we're pretty much gonna have like 97% of the cards basically spoiled. It's only gonna be just like secrets and that's it, pretty much. So
Yep.
let
Very
the games
exciting.
begin.
Very exciting times.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty exciting. So tune in next week where we'll, we won't have a jingle to go with our show. Wait,
There's no
actually, no,
way.
we will, because we
The
get to
yellow
talk about how
units
absurd Mechikabura is again next week. Awesome.
We have a lot of jingles.
We're gonna be pulling a lot of all-nighters when those red and yellow cards come out. I've been
Yep,
feeling the
indeed.
red cards. I've just been waiting. They teased that
Mhm.
Vegito so early, and I'm like, give me more.
Okay. So, all right, guys, say your goodbyes, boys. Let's go on 3, 2, 1.
Bye.
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 Pitu, 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 pitu.